Hi. So we're going to review the last two episodes of Super and the latest chapter of Super that came out. So, as many of you imagine, or if you've been watching these videos for a while now, you know that I think that the manga is the best version of Super. So we're going to end this chapter once again to prove that. So we're going to save that for last. I do want to talk about, and I think I should start with the episodes first since I skipped 111. Alright, so we'll go 111, 112, and then the chapter 29. Alright. So, as usual per par, right? I thought that the episodes were pretty bad in the end. Um, and more. There's a surprising part to this, and there's also a sort of what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? There's a sort of Okay, so when I've been talking about episodes in this arc, right? I've obviously said that I found like a couple episodes and them were like really good, right? In my opinion, episode 104 was the best episode in the anime, right? However, the bad episodes, right? At least in this particular arc, never. I'm probably forgetting, but I'm sure there are some that just like outright infuriated me from the start, right? But the bad episodes, and I actually have to go and check if this is true, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. The episodes that for the most part that I found bad in the arc didn't start out like infuriatingly bad, like how they did like in the Zamasu arc, right? Where just every fucking thing was just like irritating me and just was like a fucking like plot hole or whatever, right? Or inconsistency or just made no sense, whatever, right? Here, the episodes that I've considered bad have started out like okay, so, and then they've descended into like shit or mediocrity, whatever, right? So these two episodes I feel are kind of like that. The surprising part about that is like Atsuhiro Tomioka wrote the one with Hit and Jiren, and as you guys know, I think every episode this dude writes is just like fucking like trash, right? Now I don't think he's a bad. I think he's a bad writer for Dragon Ball Super. I don't think he's a bad writer for like if you watch like his Pokemon stuff. If you watch the episode that he wrote where with the final battle between what's his name Satoshi and what the fuck is his name in Japanese I'm just gonna call him by his dub name, Paul, right? If you watch the Infernape, right, versus that Electivire, he wrote that episode. That shit was fucking great, right? That was a damn good episode. But even if you don't like the anime, if you watch even if you don't give a fuck about Pokemon, if you think it's too kiddie, whatever, if you watch that episode, like that is a well written episode in my opinion. Like that, I love that fucking episode, right? But that shit has not translated over to the anime whatsoever, right? So that was a surprising part. Like Tomioka, he didn't outright like write like an infuriating ass episode. Obviously, I would say Tomioka has gotten better since the Zamasu arc, but so I'm gonna say that. But the quality is still like it. I would say it's just like barely above. Um, it is above the Zamasu arc stuff, but I would just say like it's not such like a huge jump in quality that I go like, oh my god, like oh he righted everything, like oh he's back on course now. It's nothing like that, right? The other surprising part that I was going to mention was Toshio. I don't know what happened with Toshio. This is the episode where he said he would write a cool Vegeta, right? Vegeta wasn't cool at all in this episode. He saves Kappa, goes, and that's it. And we'll save that for later. Anyway, so let's start with episode 111, right? So this is Hit versus Jiren. So the first thing that I noticed about this episode is like a lot of lines, and once again, per Toei and per Dragon Ball Super, and per One Piece or whatever Toei show they tend to do that's targeted towards kids, they always repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? So Hit has this line in episode 111 where he goes like, "This is my job, this is my job, this is my job." He says it over and over and over again. It's just like, shut the fuck up, we get it. Stop saying the same goddamn thing over and over and over and over again. You know, it's like this. It's like what they do with Goku's anime catchphrase, like "Waku Waku," and like he's getting like super excited. I haven't like counted this, but I fucking promise you that he has said that phrase. Goku has said that phrase in Super in 112 episodes more than he ever has in either Z or Dragon Ball. And that's 153 episodes and 291 episodes. And in less that time, he has said that shit over and over again. I promise you that's true. I promise you, right? I don't have the proof to back it up, but I promise you. I'm just going with my gut here, but I promise you. So that's the case here, right? Hit is saying like this is my job over and over again, and then fucking Jiren is like saying sorry, not what's his name? Okay, whatever. Forget it. Anyway, the point is like Hit is saying this over and over again, and obviously like that's a big problem because he's like the main focus of the fucking episode, right? But that brings another point. Like he's saying this is my job, but motherfucker, it's not your job. You're a fucking hitman. You're not killing people. You're not killing people. You are a hitman. You're an assassin. Killing is outlawed by the fucking tournament. Why would you say you are doing my? This is another example of like Toei trying to be slick, trying to put in some sort of like cool one-liner in there, and it's not because it just doesn't make sense. This is my job. Listen, if Hit was fighting, say, like Golden Frieza or something, right? On outside of the realm of the tournament, outside of the rules of the tournament, right? Like, let's just say like there was some random episode, right? And I don't know, it could be like after one of the arcs or some shit, right? I guess after this arc, right? Let's just say like there's a random filler episode where Hit has to go in to kill Frieza for like somebody paid him or some shit, right? And I'm not saying this is gonna happen. I'm just saying like hypothetically, if he was trying to fight Golden Frieza and then there was like some situation and then he said this is my job because he's trying to kill, that would be cool. That's what would make sense. Hit trying to go after Jiren in a tournament saying this is my job? Like the fuck, it's not your job. What are you talking about? You weren't even given the job. You don't even know who Jiren was before the tournament started. Anyway. So that was a problem. But the other thing is like Tomioka wrote a plan for Hit that is terrible, right? So obviously Hit is getting bodied by Jiren, right? Because Jiren is just like the fucking strongest dude there, right? But the plan that Tomioka gave him is terrible. Because, and here's the plan. The plan Tomioka wrote for Hit is block Jiren's attacks so that it's as minimal damage as it can be, right? And then wait for a counterattack. This is like so insulting to my intelligence. That is so bad. That is such a generic plan for anyone. It's so basic that it's not even there's no point in even calling it a plan to begin with. What kind of plan is that? Dude, that's what you do with like that's like I can't even speak right. If I'm fighting like a video game boss, right? Wouldn't that be like my first plan? Like if I'm getting like fucked like in Dark Souls, or if I'm getting like shit on like in Bloodborne or something, right? Or Neo, right? I block the attack or I try to like dodge it, study the patterns, and then wait for a counterattack, right? But that should be like basic shit. Like in the case of what he's saying, like block your attack so that it's as minimal as you can, and then wait for a counterattack. What kind of plan is that? What kind of plan? You need a better, dude. A plan in Dragon Ball is like stalling for the Genki Dama. That's a plan, right? A plan is like Cell running away from Piccolo and the rest of the game, or at least running away from Piccolo because he knows in his first form, because he knows that he's not strong enough to fight him, and he's gonna hide his ki and absorb energy from all the other like living people that there are on the planet, right? That's a plan. Blocking your attacks so that you're trying to minimize the damage and then waiting for a counter. What? I mean, it would be a little more better if you understood like what exactly that counterattack is, or like how he's going to do it, right? Specifics. But this is just as generic as it gets. Jiren is already overwhelmingly powerful, already more overwhelmingly powerful than Hit, right? And Goku and Vegeta are both stronger than Hit anyway at this point, right? Because Goku has the Kaioken, he can break out of the time skip, whatever. And Hit has this like this anime only pure progress thing, which really wasn't, what was it? I don't even remember if it was referenced in episode 111 or not. But anyway, we know Goku is strong because he's obviously unlocked Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta trained in and you know obviously he's trying to get it back, but Goku has the 20 times Kaioken, so he's way more powerful than Hit. Vegeta has trained back in his Zamasu arc in the Room of Spirit and Time, the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, for 3 years. So these motherfuckers are already stronger than Hit, right? So if these two can't do anything against Jiren, right? Or, well, at least Goku can't, right? Which by extension means that Vegeta can't either, and definitely Hit shouldn't be able to, right? If we know that these two are basically getting bodied, Hit is going to get even more bodied. How can you block your attacks at its minimal? Like, how do you expect Hit to do that when Goku couldn't do that? There should be no such thing as minimal dude, Cell broke Krillin's bones in one, or Raccoon broke, no, Cell and Raccoon broke Krillin's neck in one kick because he was that much more overwhelmingly powerful. Cell broke Krillin's neck in one kick because he was that much more overwhelmingly powerful. Fucking Goku one-shotted Raccoon because he was that much. There should be no such. Listen, if you are that much more stronger than your fucking opponent, then there shouldn't be any of this like pussyfooting around. And the episode continues with the horrible verbiage, the horrible wording. There's another line of "Let's do the part we were meant to play," as if it's so specific, right? So Hit is telling like the other Universe 6 Saiyans, right? Do the part that you were meant to play, right? And this is like horrible wording because it's as if it's so specific, right? It's supposed to like, oh, they have like the specific like insanely like a detailed role to play. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not such a specific role that it needs to be said like that. Play the part that you. What the fuck? And again, this is what I was talking about with the "this is my job" thing. The line is repeated over and over again, and it's not slick sounding at all. It just makes you seem like a fucking dumbass. One of the problems that I saw people having with the episode was Jiren breaking Hit's time skip. I don't understand like why that was, and this is actually a positive thing that I have to say about the episode. People had a problem with when Goku. People didn't have a problem, right? Right? I mean, it could be either or, right? People didn't or did have a problem with Goku breaking Hit's time skip, right? But when I was on my Twitter after that episode aired, right, people were mad as fuck that Jiren was just broke the time skip. But Goku did the same thing back in the Universe 6 arc. He did the same thing. He used his Kaioken, and then was able to break the time skip. Was able to move in that space. So I don't understand like why people are so quick to call like Jiren like, oh, like he's like this, and actually this led into like Jiren slander, like, oh, he's just like this Gary Stu. All he does is just like, oh, he's stoic. He doesn't really have much of a personality, and I'm gonna talk about that actually. But to me, that's just like a stupid complaint by the super fans or even critics, right? I didn't have a problem with that. Goku did the same thing. It makes perfect sense to me. If you're strong enough, then one's ability shouldn't be able to constrain you, even if it is something as OP as time skip. So the fact that Goku got stronger, and and again, strength is like how much ki you can hold in general terms, right? If you can go Kaioken times 10 and break the time skip, then yeah, Jiren should be able to do the same, because Jiren is just that much stronger. I'm fine with that. I don't understand like why people were getting like so like butthurt over that. And what I was talking about earlier, this led into Jiren slander, saying that he's a Gary Stu, he has not much personality, whatever. And I mean, on one hand, I kind of get it, because listen, I know people that don't like characters that don't have much of a personality. Now, when I say personality or character, right, I'll give you an example. If I were to use One Piece as an example, if I were to compare Lucci to Doflamingo, right, Doflamingo is a character that, quote unquote, and I'm using verbal slang here, has more personality, more character. Not necessarily in the terms of how he's written, but in the sense that he's more animated, right? He laughs a lot more, he fucking is a lot more jovial, a lot more sarcastic, whatever, right? All that sort of stuff, right? Doflamingo has that. So when you see that in a character compared to someone who doesn't, we say that that person has more character, more personality, right? It's like how you look at Mugen and Jin from Samurai Champloo. Mugen is a much more lively, animated character. So because he's more lively and animated, that's when people say they have more character to them. They have more personality to them, right? People say Jotaro, Kenshiro, Jiren, Jin, whoever, right, don't have much of a personality because they don't emote a whole lot, right? And so in that respect, I get it. But on the other hand, people forget that stoicism in itself, being stoic is a character trait also. Personally, me, I've never had a problem with those sorts of characters. If you're just a silent motherfucker that just does cool shit, right? I'm fine with that. Jotaro did that, Kenshiro did that, Jiren does that. I'm cool with that. Obviously, in the case of Jotaro and Kenshiro, they had other character traits just to sort of round the character out, right? Jiren doesn't really have that. He's just cool and does cool shit, right? And he's silent. But to me, that's still a character. I don't and to me, and I don't want to go like too off topic, but that's kind of like a problem that I've seen, that I have when people like judge stuff by their own merits, because they say like they want like the bolder, livelier, or even Modern Shonen has done this, where you see a lot of characters that just go like emote to like no ends, right? To extreme extremes, right? Like they're trying to like what's the word, hone in like on this one particular emotion, right? And try to like emphasize it as much as possible, whether it's a character getting mad or whatever, right? And I don't always need that. In fact, I'm tired of like the whole like like all all that. And Luffy does that, but I love Luffy, right? But that specific sort of like character trait where like characters are just like overly exuberant has been done to death as of late. So in the case of Jiren being the opposite of that, I welcome that. But even if that didn't exist, even if that contrast, right, where we had overly exuberant characters, even if that didn't exist, I'd still be fine with it. I see no problem with it. I see no problem, right? Because by that expectation, every emotionless character ever is a bad character, is a Gary Stu. So to me, I don't even find Gary Stu to be like quote unquote a bad character anyway. I know the whole like, oh, these characters need to have flaws. I've never been about that life. Fuck that shit. I think that's stupid logic, but that we'll talk about that later. Anyway, the point is, I don't understand the whole Jiren slander after that episode. So I thought it was stupid. But anyway, so the end of the episode has Jiren just let Goku still be in the tournament, right? And I thought that was stupid. The dude just starts meditating. He should have eliminated Goku after he saw the Ultra Instinct run out. I feel like if he's gonna eliminate Hit, then he should eliminate Goku, right? He should eliminate Goku. Goku has been his best opponent at this point, his strongest opponent. Eliminate him. Why? I don't understand. Like, why you're just gonna sit there and meditate? So yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I thought the episode was pretty bad because again, like Hit's whole like storing space and storing time and space, like that ability is just fucking stupid. Like, first of all, it's very hard to understand, right? Second of all, it's like the most useless fucking like how is that any different from the regular? It's so Dragon Ball Redux was saying this on Twitter. It's just so poorly explained, and obviously like this doesn't happen in the manga, right? So that's a good thing. But it's just like another useless ability. Like, fuck that. Anyway, so all those things put together just made for like a very uninteresting episode. A very bad episode, too. Anyway, so then we go to episode 112, right? And I don't like how Toshio Yoshitaka has Goku say, I can keep going, on some generic shonen dialogue shit in the beginning of the episode. And again, like, this whole Goku staring at Jiren meditating thing is whack in general. This is fucking whack. That's stupid. That's fucking whack. I don't know why he's having him do that. Fuck that. That's stupid. Fuck that shit. And that moment actually reminded me of like back in episode 37, I think it was, when Goku like Hit used his time skip on Goku, and then Goku got up and was like, I can keep going, right? Fuck that. I don't like those moments. Those are garbaggio. Fuck that shit, right? Or at least I don't like the way the dialogue is written for those moments in those particular two situations. And so that happens, right? It's still insulting and whack to see robots of everything beat on and exhausted. You go, dude, I mean, I understand these are Universe 3 motherfuckers, right? We have no clue how fucking strong they are, right? 16 himself was an all-robotic motherfucker, but it's still so surreal and insulting and just like whack in general to see these fucking Universe 3 robots start to fight Goku. Like, even though he is exhausted, but still, Fucking robots? Motherfucker, this is the whole power scaling problem with Super. Goku and all these characters have fought fucking planet destroyers. And now you got fucking robots. Robots, man. Robots. It's just like, fuck this shit. And we still keep going with the bad dialogue. Toshio now is doing what Tomioka did the other episode, right? The previous episode, and he reused a line, or he reused a line, not in the same episode, but from a previous arc. He used the whole "lose the battle, win the war" line, right? That had been used by Frieza back in Revival of F, when he was standing over like after Goku had been shot. Remember that? That's been like that line is used so terribly here. Like it was used terribly when Frieza said it, right? I thought that was a horrible use of the line for Frieza to say that, right? You lose the battle. Like, motherfucker, like, it's just one fight in general. But, like, fuck that shit. Anyway. So, yeah, it was used bad then because, back then when Frieza said it, because, yeah, it was just one. And, again, I'm not trying to be too literal when I'm explaining it, but it's still, like, win the battle, lose the war. Like, then if Goku versus Frieza was the battle, and what was the war, right? You just start to like think about it. It's just like, what the fuck, the overarch, like, fuck that shit, fuck that movie, fuck that whole line. Anyway, but Champa says it now, right? And it's used horribly now because then Champa is saying it now when he says that he'll win the tournament, right? Through time running out, because no one can beat Jiren, right? And that to me is just another terrible use of the line because again, winning through timeout isn't really, it's not the thing about like when it comes to plans and ideas in this show. It's just so fucking basic. They take the most guessable basic idea and they call that a fucking plan. And it's not a plan. A plan needs to have more thought put into it. It needs to be more fucking like procedural, like you write out like steps or you think about steps and rules. Winning by timeout isn't that sort of like it's an idea. I wouldn't call it like a fucking plan. Again, like plans are like you're using your smarts, like Vegeta like fucking like sneak attacking them or something like that, right? That's a fucking plan. This isn't like a plan. This isn't a something that's worthy of being called a plan, I should say. But yeah, so 112 is basically the whole Kaba stuff, and that's a huge reason why like the episode sucked. Because Kaba sucks in general. Kaba is a terrible character. He's a terrible character. He sucks. He fucking sucks. Dude, the entrance that he had in this episode was whack. It's a poor imitation of Gohan's against Boo's back in the Boo arc. They tried to imitate it, right? Like they had him flying in, and then Gohan. Remember how Gohan's feet like slid on the ground, and then you had like he was kicking up like rocks and dirt and all that. They tried to do the same thing with Kaba here, and it was terrible. And the entrance music was so bad. I hate the entrance music, dude. Like that music when it was airing like in Kai Boo arc. Oh my god, I hated that shit, dude. Like, there's one thing that Super can't do right when it comes to its music, and it's definitely trumpets, right? And maybe one track I've heard has been good with trumpets. Everything else is just like that high-arching trumpet, that needs to go. That needs to go. It needs to go, right? Or at least use it very sparingly. It needs to go. So the music was bad, right? But let me explain like why Kaba is terrible, right? Because all his traits are overdone. Once again, like if you had never watched this episode before, right? If you had never watched this episode, right? And I told you that this was going to be Kaba-centric, right? And you had watched the Universe 6 arc, what would you think it was going to be about, right? The first thing that should pop in your head is fucking Saiyan Pride, right? Because that's what he learned against Vegeta, and lo and behold, it's the same bullshit that we had against Vegeta. Saiyan Pride, never forget you're one of the Saiyans. The Saiyan Pride thing with Kaba is too overdone. Flesh him out more. And that's another reason why Super sucks, because it's just like one trait per fucking character. One fucking trait per character. And it's, once again, Saiyan Pride. Right? Everything with Kaba is overdone. Everything with Kaba is overdone, right? The Saiyan Pride, the quote-unquote master-student thing, which, again, I think is fucking bullshit, right? Like, it's not okay, here's the thing, right? Vegeta and Kaba being a master-student relationship, that's not a fucking master-student relationship. A master-student relationship is Gohan and Piccolo, right? Or Goku and Gohan, or someone like that, right? So you train them periodically. This motherfucker Vegeta, or this motherfucker Kaba, got his ass beat by Vegeta once. Got his ass pummeled, and he calls him a fucking master. That's a master student. Like, everyone was talking about this is a master student bond that transcends universes. When these motherfuckers have only fought once. What did even Vegeta teach him, by the way, right? Vegeta taught him about Saiyan Pride, like whatever that means, right? And then he taught him how to go Super Saiyan. And those two things together have Kaba call Vegeta fucking master? That's master students like Kenshin and Hiko Seijiro. Master students like Gintoki and Shoyo from Gintama. That's a master student relationship. Not fucking Vegeta going like having like once in a blue moon interactions with fucking Kaba. That's not a fucking master student thing. What is that? He didn't even teach him anything. You have to, dude. Listen, you have to teach that. You have to teach him, or you have to interact with him periodically if you want that bond to be believable. If you just fought him once and then you fight him like X number of months later, and that's the first time you've seen him in X number of months, I'm not gonna believe you motherfuckers are master and student. Even Kaio and Goku, I would say is like that. No, actually, no, it wouldn't be, because Goku spent close to a whole year with Kaio. Goku spent 3 years with Kami. Like, that's there hasn't been enough time, right? Nor has there been enough lessons for Vegeta and Kaba to be like a very solid master student item. And the fact that particular phrase was being, or Shishio or Shisho, or however you say it, that particular phrase of master student bond was being used over and over again, took way too much fucking time in the episode. People, and the other thing was that people were fired up for Toppo calling Vegeta a second fiddle, and Jesus Christ. I saw people going like, oh shit, like, yo, burn, oh my god, oh, Toppo called Vegeta second fiddle too, I'm just saying here, like, motherfucker, Jesus Christ, people's expectations, not only expectations, their standards for like what makes a good burn or makes a good retort is so goddamn low. Really? You're gonna be like, oh, it's just like Toppo calling Vegeta second fiddle, like that's the best fucking line that you could come up with, my man. Like, come on, seriously. At least be a little more like, I don't know, like mean or insulting or something. Second, like, it's just like that's not a burn. I didn't feel anything when he called Vegeta. Seriously, it's not even me trying to irrationally hate or anything. When he called Vegeta second fiddle, or he's like, "Aren't you a second fiddle too?" I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I see like all these Twitter reactions. They're like, oh, that's such a great burn. I'm just anyway. I do have a couple of things to say, good things to say about the episode, though. Even though I did think the episode was bad in the long run, but there were a couple good things I liked. The Gallic gun that Kaba used against Frieza was well animated, right? I thought that was pretty. I mean, it was only like a couple seconds, but I thought that was pretty cool to see that, right? Of course, I don't like the fact that Kaba uses the Gallic gun anyway, but still. I also don't have a problem with Kaba going Super Saiyan 2. I know some people had a problem with that. But I don't really have a problem with that. It's kind of like there's a problem in the same vein as like Caulifla going Super Saiyan, in the sense that like if you compare his Super Saiyan 2 transformation to like Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation, which was like chock full of emotion and everything, and very well written, like yeah, there's a problem in that respect, because obviously it's not as good as Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation, and the comparison is also there with Caulifla's Super Saiyan transformation and Goku's, Vegeta's, Gohan's future Trunks is like whoever's regular Super Saiyan transformation, right? But I don't have a problem with Kaba going Super Saiyan 2 because the dude, yeah, I mean he's fought Vegeta, he's probably trained a little bit, right? And he's fighting like powerful. Also, I assume he's like trained or fought like other Saiyans, like in Caulifla and Kale, who has like upped his ability to transform, right? And the fact that he fought Frieza here, all that stuff put together, makes me it's not really inconceivable for me to think that Kaba can go Super Saiyan 2. So I didn't have a problem with that. Of course, considering the type of opponent that Mona is, like you look at Gohan against Cell and then Kaba versus Mona, and you see like, oh, this is what Super Saiyan 2 came from. You're just like, you just shake your head and just like, you just try to like say fuck Super as many times as you can. But the idea of Kaba getting Super Saiyan 2, I don't think is really a problem, at least for me. The emotional trigger, yeah, it could have been expressed a little better for sure, but because Gohan actually got it through someone actually fucking like dying, which was 16. Here, Kaba's just getting mad because he's gonna beat my trainer, he's gonna beat my so-called master and everyone else, and so here we go with the overdone shit with Kaba because it's the same thing. We got Saiyan Pride, we got Master Student. And now it's Kaba getting mad over his friends being hurt, over his allies being hurt, which was the same thing that made him go regular Super Saiyan back in the Universe 6 arc. So that was bullshit. And then we get to the end of the episode, right? Goku tells Vegeta like this line about like how he's slowly regaining stamina by fighting the robots or some shit like that. And I didn't literally, but I almost got an aneurysm by reading that. This dude Goku, right, told Vegeta, okay, so think about this. Goku's exhausted, he's in base form, and he's fighting 3 robots, right? And he tells Vegeta, right, by fighting, he is going to regain stamina. What the fuck, man? Like, people don't pay attention to what they... How does that make any sense? You're fighting to regain stamina. You're fighting to regain stamina. What the fuck does... You're fighting to regain stamina when you're exhausted. It's not like Goku is a Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue or Ultra Instinct and straight up like using minimal effort to fucking body these robots. He's exhausted in his base state, his weakest state. He's fighting them in his weakest state, and somehow by fighting, he's regaining stamina. What the fuck is that? Does no one else see the problem with that? How the fuck do you expend energy to regain energy? Anyway. And the last problem that I had with the episode was the narrator, right? And again, here we go with the bullshit dialogue. The narrator says, what are Caulifla's intentions and how there's individual purposes crossing, right? When it's doing like the outro for the episode. So the narrator says like, what are Caulifla's intentions? And it makes you think like, okay, so like when you see that, the first thing you think is like, oh, Caulifla has like another intention or something. But it's just like, the episode never indicated that Caulifla had any other intention except just wanting to fight Goku, right? And people were having a problem like calling Caulifla stupid for fighting Goku. I mean, yeah, it's kind of stupid in the sense that like she should know that she's going to get beaten. But I mean, any Saiyan wants to have a good fight, whether it's Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, Gohan. Actually, no, not Trunks. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, even Gotenks for that matter, when he wanted to make a spectacular battle using Super Saiyan 3, right? So, I mean, I don't have a problem with Caulifla wanting to fight Goku, but the problem is, like, this whole wording of, like, what are Caulifla's intentions? Like, the fuck? What do you mean, what are her intentions? Her intentions are to fight Goku. There's no hidden intent there. What the fuck are you talking about? And if there was hidden intent, then you shouldn't have said that in the narration. So that was trash, and then the whole individual purposes crossing, right? That, to me, is, like, fucking trash as fuck, too, because... Just because there's like the tournament isn't better because there are individual purposes crossing, right? who cares if people have different goals? That doesn't make the storytelling or the arc better. No, it doesn't. Anyone who has individual purposes, like Obuni, for example, is killed off like in a single episode. So there's no staying power for that. There's no staying power. Who besides that, the purpose is to save your fucking universe, right? What are you talking about individual purposes? Like Vegeta's individual purpose, for example, is to be #1 at the top. Like what the fuck? That's no different from saving your universe. Frieza is really the only one with some sort of like unique goal, which is like apparently to control the gods through the Super Dragon Balls. But I mean, but that's just one. That's just one thing. I can't think of any. What is Toppo? How do Toppo, Jiren, Dispo, whoever Hit? For example, what was Hit's goal? Whoever, right? None of that shit is different. Frieza's is the only one unique enough to make a distinction to call it like an individual purpose. So yeah, both were trash episodes again, but again, like it didn't start out that way. There were a couple good things to them, but like most of the other episodes, it slowly descended into that pile of shit. So with that, we're done with the chapters, right? We're done with the episodes, and now we can move on to the chapter. We can move on to the good shit now. So I actually thought that this was a good chapter, right? Like 28. But the thing is, here's the thing. It also had its fair share of problems. Right? So let's do this. So yeah, so this is chapter 29, right? So let's talk about the Okay, yeah, we'll start with the fight. So the best thing that the manga has done over the arc so far is that, unlike in the anime, we actually get to see these gods of destruction fight, right? Think about if you had 13 other, like, imagine if we never saw, and the anime did this, imagine if we never saw Sidra or Ramush fight, right? That would be a waste of a character, right? And if you guys remember what I was saying, like my fear of the arc was that these characters, there wouldn't be enough time to characterize them, right? They'd just be like throwaway characters, right? Imagine like how, like, say, like in the Three Kings arc. Imagine if, for example, in the Three Kings arc in Yu Yu Hakusho, if Mukuro or Yomi, right? Their characters were never really like touched upon. They didn't really have a whole lot of screen time, but they're one of the 3 strongest motherfuckers, right? In all of Yu Yu Hakusho, and yet they were beaten and killed off, right? That'd be kind of a waste of a character, right? Someone as powerful as that is not going to be expanded upon. And I guess we kind of get that already with like some of like Raizen's friends. But the point is here, right? The point is here with Dragon Ball Super, with Ramush and Sidra, they were killed off in the fucking anime before they really did anything, right? I mean, yeah, we had like some filler with fucking or maybe it's not filler, who knows? With Sidra giving his energy to the assassin from Universe 4, right? We had that happen, but that didn't really like tell us anything about his character or anything like that. Here, however, we're getting to see the gods fight. We're actually getting like some good shit with them. We're seeing these gods fight, right? And that's what I like. Vermaud's attack that he has, like the Hisoka shit, it's like a mixture of Hisoka and Janemba, right? It's like Janemba because he encapsulates them in an orb, right? And then like Janemba, he hurls like rapid like sharp ki blasts at them, right? But it's more like Hisoka in that respect because he uses cards. So that shit is cool. So I thought that attack to me is like, it's cool and appropriate. And if we wanted to go more canon, it's like Frieza's in that respect too. It's like Frieza's back in the Namek arc in the respect that, remember when Frieza like captures Goku like in a ball, like in a sphere, in a barrier sort of thing. So yeah, I mean that kind of reminded me of that too. So yeah, so I thought the attack was cool and appropriate. And even though I don't, and I've said this before, even though I don't like liquor, however you say it, being like basically being modeled after the Kitsune, right? Because again, that does make him seem like an alien. It just makes him seem like someone from Earth, right? But even though I don't like that, his tail attack was cool also. Kind of a little weird, like the tails opened up and shit. But I'm pretty sure like that's what happens with the Kitsune Kitsune, I think, in actual like Japanese mythology. So I can sort of like oversee that. So the tail attack, that attack in itself is kind of cool too, right? Ramush's roar effect, right? When he roars, that roar effect is dope, right? Because it actually gets like a little like scientific, like it shuts off like your nervous system and your motor senses. That to me is like a like I can get behind like something like that happening in Dragon Ball. So I like that shit. What I didn't like was like how badly, or I don't want to say badly drawn, but the way that Vermad, or not Vermad, the way that Toyotaro drew Ramush like attacking after using it by like running, I thought that was fucking whack as fuck. Because the way that he ran was just like drawn so like there's no sense of speed. So, but the roar effect I thought was dope as shit. And I also like how like that new extra detail of how Toppo's ki can't be sensed, right? So I actually thought that this was it probably wouldn't have been a problem anyway, because anyway like strong people, like their ki can't be sensed, right? If at least if you're a god. But it's revealed in the chapter that Toppo was trained by Vermaud. I think even in the chapter, in one of the chapters before that, it was said. So the fact that Toppo's ki, right, can't be sensed because he's trained by Vermaud, that makes sense to me. It's like Vegeta. Vegeta was trained by Whis, and he got God ki. And so to me that makes sense. The fact that you can get it through like training with like an angel or whoever, that makes perfect sense to me. So I like the fact that they did that for Toppo. Like you can't sense his ki because he's trained by Vermaud. That's like a good little detail that they added. Now we'll talk about like what the chapter did bad, right? So the first thing I want to talk about was Hellas using the arrow. Okay, I thought Hellas using the arrow was trash, right? But then I started to think about it, and you know, it's not the first time that others have used weapons in Dragon Ball. Like obviously Trunks has used a sword as a Super Saiyan and killed Frieza with it, right? So what's the difference between Hellas and then using a bow and arrow here? The problem is that the bow doesn't look too ordinary, like at all. Because think about it, right? If I'm using a bow and arrow, right? If I'm Trunks and I'm using a sword, right? Like the tangibility or like the feeling that I have of me grasping a hilt and like fucking like cutting someone, right? That's a lot more like what's the word? The feeling of doing that, right? Because you're using your actual arms to, well, I mean you're using arms when you like that with the bow and arrow, but point is like you're using like strength, right? To do the slash. When you're using a bow and arrow, right? There's no like you're just trying to pull it back as far as you can, right? And then you just let it go. And so when the arrow is traveling through the air, your actual like your hands aren't like touching it, right? To impart like more strength onto it or whatever, right? The other thing is like the bow doesn't look that ordinary. It doesn't look out of the ordinary at all, like, right? If you're gonna use something like a bow and arrow, then the weapon in itself should look like a little special or something, right? It just looks like some sort of like makeshift like primitive civilization fucking bow and arrow thing, right? And I don't even understand like why she was using like a bow and arrow to begin with. It's more advantageous to just use a fucking ki blast. Like why an arrow? Now obviously House is a god of destruction, right? So she probably has like fucking like or strength comparable to like Beerus, right? Where like if she I can believe like if she were to pull it back and like fire like at a fucking like planet, right? Then the planet would blow up or some shit just by using a bow and arrow. The problem is like the bow and arrow in itself doesn't look remarkable at all. It just looks like some fucking like random bow and arrow that she got from say like what's his name, Bora's village, right? From fucking Bora's village, and then just use that shit on fucking liquor. And anyway, it'd be more advantageous to use just a ki blast instead. So yeah, I didn't like that too much anyway. Though I could understand, like I can see like somewhat of how it could make sense. Ramush running around after roaring, that was like it's a trash, or at least it's not drawn very like convincingly. Not that there's anything wrong with the art in itself. It's more of like the composition, I guess, because like I said, there's no like sense of speed or the impact that he has when like hitting someone, it's either too slow or there's no like feeling of like oomph behind it. The other thing that I thought was like kind of like weird or like off-putting was Vermouth had a smirk, right? Once Grand Prix stopped the fight between Beerus and Kitella, like they were like one of the, or at least like they were two of the last ones like standing, right? Or they were the last two ones, the last two gods standing at that point, right? But so he calls the match off. Then Vermouth looks up and starts smiling, and I'm still not sure like why he did that. Why does Vermouth have a smirk once the match is called off? You know, usually when you see something like that happen, it's either because they have like something up their sleeve, they have a trick, or they have some sort of like devious plan like in the back of their mind, but there's nothing like that. He just looks up and smiles and that's it. It's like, what the fuck? So yeah, that to me was just like a flaw in the chapter. Like what the fuck was the point of that? I don't want to say that this particular thing is a fault, but Toppo is a god destruction candidate, right? Or at least he's going to succeed Vermouth. But he can't fly? Then again, neither could Goku until the Saiyan arc, right? And Frieza wasn't able to sense Ki either back in the Namek arc. So I guess it's an okay handicap for him to have, right? The other change that I noticed is that no flying is allowed. Like straight up no flying is allowed here. Whereas we've seen flying happen in the tournament, right? We've seen flying happen in the tournament and in practice for the tournament. We've seen characters flying around in the tournament. So I guess like it's an okay handicap for Toppo to have. But what was interesting to me was like how he pointed out that no flying is allowed in the actual Tournament of Power. And like I said, the problem that I had with that back in the anime was like Gohan was like, oh, tactics will be important, as though like no flying is like such like a big ass thing. But the way that he did it more subtly over here is far more acceptable. Another thing that I don't know if I can really call this a flaw also, but why does Zeno feel no change from Goku when he goes Super Saiyan 2 against Toppo? I didn't understand that either. Like why that was said. Maybe it was a typo and it meant like I don't see much of a change or something like that because Super Saiyan 2 feel different or look different and feel different. But yeah, that was another weird line of dialogue. Another thing I kind of didn't like was that Iwin, the god of destruction from Universe 1, right? He's so impressed at Goku's and Toppo's fight. Right? So Goku and Toppo are fighting like in the chapter, right? Like they have their fight. But he's so impressed by it that he seems like the others, right? Like that the other guys of destruction ain't shit because he's saying this like sweating and like with a whole lot of like hesitation in his voice. So when he says it like that, it just makes it seem like the other gods of destruction, they aren't shit. And that's kind of disappointing, right? That's kind of disappointing. Of course, on one hand, I like the fact, in the previous chapter I said, like, I like the fact that Beerus was, like, basically, I think it's safe to say that he's the strongest god of destruction in the manga, at least, right? But, so, I mean, I like that, but still, just to see, like, how, like, kind of, like, irrelevant the other gods of destruction are, that's kind of, like, I don't like that. That's, you know, if you're gonna have fucking 12 other gods of destruction, make them a lot more relevant. And I'm not just saying not just by having them fight, like have them like build them up like how you did Beerus in Battle of Gods. Let me get some water. Like my voices. And so yeah, so that's one thing, right? So Goku and Toppo are fighting. And one thing I forgot to say actually, Goku and Toppo fight was done better in principle in this arc, right? Or in the manga, because Toppo isn't calling Goku evil, or he's not abusing like justice shit like how they do in the anime. So by those two reasons alone, no justice video gamey attacks and no fucking Goku's evil, right? None of that shit. And this fight is automatically better than the anime version, right? The manga version is easily better. But there is one part I didn't like in the fight. It's when Toppo kicks Goku out of bounds. It was two parts. So it happens like pretty like close proximity of one another. Toppo kicks Goku, right? And the way Toyotaro draws this is like it's like this 3-panel thing. And to me that's just kind of like there's no reason to like draw it like that, because like when you're reading something there's like certain there's certain emotions that are evoked like in your heart and your spirit and your soul, like when you read something a certain way. And so he was trying to make it look like I can't think of the word, right? But I don't like basically I don't like the fact that Toyotaro drew the after effect of Toppo kicking Goku out in 3 panels, because the effect that it would have been more impactful and a lot easier and a lot more like easier to tell the audience too, and the story would have flown better too, I feel, if he had just shown like the first panel of like Toppo kicking Goku, right? Goku goes out of bounds, and then maybe like a second panel of like Toppo like sitting on the ring and Goku's like knocked out or something, right? That to me would have been fine. That would have been perfect. Not the whole 3-panel thing of like Toppo and like it's zooming in on his face and his flowing mustache, right? Fuck that shit. Anyway. The other thing I didn't like was that Toppo tells Goku not to let his guard down, right? But Goku didn't really let his guard down when he punched him, right? Like letting your guard down is like relaxing your guard, right? If you're punching, then by that extension your guard is always by that definition your guard is always down. If I throw out an attack, my guard is always going to be down by that definition. Anyway. So Toppo tells him not to let his guard down. Obviously, that's a whole another like beating over the head thing of his whole problem back in Revival, or that was addressed back in Revival of F. He's gullible and can be like knocked out, can be taken advantage of that way. But this wasn't a good example of showcasing that. But yeah, I mean, I thought the chapter was good. Honestly, pretty much everything was done better, even though there were a couple problems here and there in the chapter. But once again, the manga. So I mean, 2 chapters after chapter 27, the manga has like completely reversed it. So let's hope like it keeps going that way, because this arc is actually like not that bad so far in Super's manga. I'm probably not gonna. I don't know if I would say it's better than Battle of Gods yet, because it's just starting, obviously. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Whether the 90%, 10% Super Saiyan Blue bullshit is used, or we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, those are my reviews. Thank you guys for watching for an hour, and drink plenty of water. See you guys next time.